Hello, thank you for joining us for this recording of the Introducing Green Jobs webinar. I'm Alice from Career Pilot, and I'm really excited to have been working on a fantastic project that's all about green jobs. And we've been working in collaboration with the West of England Combined Authority and Careers Hub. So thank you for joining us for this recording of the session. I hope you find it really useful to find out about how you can support your students to explore and find out more about green jobs and the different routes into them. Okay, so as part of this session today, I will give you a bit of context behind the project and then go into what the project consists of in terms of the resources that we've developed for you to use in your schools and colleges over the summer term. We'll look at the lesson plan that we've developed and also student quiz, as well as some resources to support SEND learners in a range of settings. And then we'll just talk briefly about how you can then access the resources. And I will highlight the evaluation survey that we'd like you to complete and give you some details of some further webinars that will be coming up later this term. So in terms of why we have been working on this project with the West of England Careers Hub, this is really part of the West of England Combined Authority's ambition to be net zero by 2030. So there are some really ambitious climate change plans that have been developed and implemented across the region. As a part of this, there's been a lot of work around how to support schools and students to understand what opportunities this will bring. So the West of England Combined Authority has had a range of different projects that they've been involved with within the education setting and landscape regionally, including Teacher Encounters, South Bristol Youth Collaborative Project, Graphic Science Project. And then, as I say, as Career Pilot, we've been working very closely with the Careers Hub on this particular project around resources for students. So in terms of what we want to achieve from this particular project, we want to make sure that students can connect their learning and their skills to the future opportunities that now exist within green jobs. We want to motivate and inspire students to enter green jobs and careers and to make sure that they've got all the information that they need to be able to access the different pathways into these green jobs and know how these relate to their particular local area. This has great benefits for you within the school setting. It helps to support meeting the Gatsby benchmark. So there's the benchmark 2 around providing LMI and study options and information for parents and students that are specific to your particular region. We've got benchmark 3, which is about having differentiated resources to address the needs of each student, and then also supporting Gatsby benchmark 4 with resources that can be incorporated into PSHE and indeed other subjects across the curriculum. So just to kind of come back again to that sort of national context, to what really is driving this whole movement forward around green jobs, I think we're all very aware that there's a government commitment to achieving net zero emissions by 2050. And this is going to mean huge investment and change across the economy to ensure the decarbonisation of buildings and transport, aviation and industry. This could result with as many as 694,000 specifically direct jobs employed within low carbon and renewable energy by 2030, and that will be rising up to over 1.9 million by 2050. So really, in terms of a young person looking towards the different careers that will be existing ahead of them, there are lots of great opportunities within the green economy. In terms of how this looks locally within our regional context of the West of England, we have this particularly ambitious target within the West of England to be meeting the net zero target by 2030. So this is going to require fundamental shifts across the economy in all of the areas I mentioned: transport, power, industry, as well as support for the natural environment. So again, this is going to be requiring quite an increase in jobs in those areas, with an estimated over 50,000 to meet the net zero target by 2030 within our particular region. So in terms of the West of England Combined Authority's plans, they've identified 5 priority areas for our particular region. So I mentioned nature recovery. So this is a big area, really looking at how to protect and support the biodiversity across the region. Then low carbon transport, low carbon buildings and places. That includes the retrofitting of existing buildings, but also the development of new, more energy efficient buildings and developments in the future. Renewable energy sources, and low carbon business, which includes a whole range of different business operations that support the green economy. So in terms of the different resources that we have developed to support these areas, we've got a range of different ways that students can find out about these green jobs. So we've got regional information that we've added to 50 green jobs on Career Pilot that students can search up and find out more about how particular jobs might be classified as green jobs specifically within our region and what the different routes are into those jobs. We've developed a whole range of green hot jobs posters. We've got digital images and lesson activities that you can use to really dig into some of those green jobs and find out more about them with your class. And then we've also developed a 50-minute lesson and quiz. So this could be delivered ideally around sort of year 10. And it really introduces the whole of the green agenda, how you can be more green as an individual, and what the specific green jobs are that students might want to find out more about. So I mentioned there about how we've identified some green jobs as a focus in this particular area. We've actually worked with the West of England Careers Hub to identify 50 jobs that support those 5 priority areas locally. So you can see them listed here. But in terms of how students can find these 50 jobs, they've all been tagged as green jobs on the Career Pilot job search. So each of the job profiles that's one of those 50s is labelled as a 50 as a green job. And then we've added some additional information at the bottom of the LMI section, which is specific to the West of England. And when students open this, they can see, firstly, how this job actually helps to address the impacts of climate change and to protect wildlife and nature in the West of England. So that ties it back into what is that actually doing specifically to support our action plans in the local area. And then if the student's interested in that, then they can see some examples of the types of post-16 courses that they could study at local schools or colleges, the types of apprenticeships that they might be able to take with local employers, examples of post-18 courses that they could take at local colleges or universities, and then just a couple of examples of local employers, or they might be national employers, but with local employment. So this really gives the students the opportunity to find out about what these jobs look like within their local region. They can find these jobs within the usual search section of Career Pilots. They can search specifically for a job by job title, or they can look at all of the green jobs listed within the green job search that you can just see there. We've also tried to make it as easy for you as possible to find out more about these green jobs. So we've produced an interactive PDF that has hyperlinks to each of the 50 jobs and is classified by each of the 5 priority areas. So hopefully that's a useful resource that you can use within schools, but you can also share more widely within your school community. And we've also got a poster that you could display within school that has the 50 green jobs, and it has a QR code on there that takes students straight through to the green jobs section on Career Pilot to search further. There's lots more information about green jobs as well within the strengths and values section of Career Pilot. So students can look specifically for information about preventing climate change or protecting nature, and different ways that they can take that interest further in different employers they might want to look into further. So with them, we've taken 20 of the 50 green jobs that we've highlighted, and we've produced hot jobs posters and images that you can use to really find out more about the individual jobs. So all 20 jobs that we've highlighted are set to grow over the coming years. So they are hot jobs, and we've got posters that you can print out in school, but we also have digital images that you could use for social media or to have on display, digital displays that you might have in school. Just worth mentioning that each of those also has an individual QR code, the posters, which takes the student directly through to the profile for that particular job. So we've put top line information on the poster, but then students can use the QR code to take them further and find out more about that job and the pathways. And then 10 of those green hot jobs have linked lessons that you can use. They're really short, really easy to use sort of activities, classroom activities that could be used in tutor time. So they can be dropped in or potentially even as starters for different subject lessons. So they really just consist of a short video that you can play to introduce that particular job. So it's somebody talking about their job. Then the student can have the opportunity to look at the poster or look at the job profile on Career Pilot. And then there are some questions that they can discuss either in pairs or as a class to discuss what they've found out about that particular job. Okay, so I'm now going to just give you a bit of a flavour of the Green Jobs lesson. This is a very quick run through so you know what to expect, because we have a longer 50-minute lesson. This does need individual student access for some of the activities, and we're asking you very kindly if you'd be able to deliver this lesson to at least 30 students by July the 7th. This really is to support us with measuring the impact of this project, so we'd like to get some feedback on how students have found using the lesson, what they've learned from it. So as part of this lesson, students will need to complete a green quiz. And that's very important to us, obviously, to get that feedback from the students to find out how useful and impactful it has been. So just to give you a quick rundown of the 50 to 60 minute lesson that we'd like you to deliver. So you can see here, there's some contents. There's a recorded version of this lesson that you can play. So if you'd like to have one of our team deliver the lesson for you via a video, you can use that and then just pause it where you need to for the students to take part in the activities. So just top line sort of flavour of the lesson. So it really talks about why we need to be green. So starting off with who said this quote, being young is a great advantage since we see the world from a new perspective and we are not afraid to make radical changes. Obviously Greta Thunberg. So it really just starts to get the conversation going about what it means to be green. So we need to look after the planet. We know every country needs to do this. So we know we talk about what the UK as a country is actually planning to do. Then what each region within the UK is planning to do. So that's where you can introduce the climate action plan for the West of England. And then the fact that we all therefore need to be green, what we can do as an individual. So it's going from that macro to that micro. And then we'll introduce the idea of this quiz. So I have the quiz at the end of the lesson. So students will find out how green they are based on answering a few questions, all of which they can find by listening to the lesson. So we're talking here then about the national picture, the regional picture, what it means to be net zero. So you can explain about that as well. And then what you can do as an individual to be more green. So it's a 5-minute activity. You can just get some of those ideas and brainstorm. It gives you some ideas here. Then we go into what does it mean for people who work within the West of England in terms of what can you do within a job to be more green. So we could be more green in any job by doing some of these activities, by cycling or using public transport rather than taking a car. So there's lots of different things you could discuss about how everybody can do these within their jobs to be more green. But then there will be specific jobs that are green jobs, that the actual act of the job is helping to prevent climate change or support nature. And this is where we can start to introduce what some of those green jobs are. But before we go into that, where there is a 10-minute activity where you can have a bit of a brainstorm, just take any job and think about how you can make it more green. So it could be as a hairdresser, what different things could a hairdresser do to be more green? And then we go into, as I say, so what are specifically green jobs or directly green jobs? So we give the definition here. A green job is a job which will directly contribute towards the reduction of emissions and help to protect the environment. So this is where we introduce the 5 priority areas and the fact that these are set to grow within the region. And then you'll introduce to the students some examples here of the different jobs within each of those priority areas. And then the students will have a task where they actually are going to explore some of the jobs from that list of 50. So we need them to register or sign into Career Pilot here and then go to the jobs section. And then they can search for a couple of jobs that they've chosen from that list of 50 jobs. So what we want them to do is to open up the job profile, write down the salary, look at a couple of routes into that job, and then looking at some examples of some courses, apprenticeships that they could do specifically within the West of England area. So we want that to do. They want the students to be able to do that for 2 jobs, please, from the list of 50. And there will be a slide there that you can have to hold, so students can have a look at the 50 jobs and choose a couple. So just a reminder there. So they're looking at the salary, they're looking at the routes in, and they're looking at some examples of courses or training they could do within their region. Okay, and then there'll be an opportunity for students to then share what they found out. And then we want them to take part in that green quiz. So it's a really short quiz that they can do via SurveyMonkey. So the link you can see is here, and that will be within the lesson. So if the students are, hopefully they're all online, so you could just send that link out to all of your students so that they can complete the quick survey at the end and find out how green they are. Okay, so just to go back to that, so once the students have completed that, that's brilliant because we'll be able to see how that they've what they've learned from that lesson and how useful it's been to them as well. So as I say, if we can ask if you are able to run this session before the 7th of July, that would be super helpful to us to support our evaluation. What I didn't say is if you're able to complete that with a class of at least 30 students by the 7th of July, as a thank you to you for doing that, we will send you a printed version of all of the posters, A3 posters set. So there will be details that are in the accompanying email to this webinar about that, but that's something that we would be really happy to send out to any schools that are able to complete that student survey by that deadline. Okay, I mentioned also that there are some resources for SEND students as well. So this is just in development at the moment, but we'll be ready to send out very shortly. And there's a set of resources that have been adapted for a SEND setting. So again, we just kind of introduce the idea of what it means to be green, as you can see here. So really nice and visual, and there's some nice visual activities. So there's a Be a Green Spy where students can have a look for where they've seen evidence of different ways to be green, either around their school setting, or it might be by going for a walk around the local community and using this spotter sheet. We've also got some more resources about how to be green within specific jobs, and a set of posters, again, are very visual, that really look into a range of jobs and how they can be more green within them. So just to go back to the mainstream resources overview I mentioned, so we've got all of the 50 jobs have been tagged on Career Pilot and can be searched really easily by the job section on Career Pilot. Then we've got a range of posters and linked activities that you can use with your students to find out more about those 50 green jobs. And then lastly, there is the lesson that you can run with your students, the 50-minute lesson and the student quiz that we'd like completed by the 7th of July, please. So all of these are available to you. And having watched this webinar and completed the survey that came with this webinar, we will then be happy to send you the links to download all of these resources. So as I said, if we're able to deliver that lesson and quiz by the 7th of July with at least one group of students of 30 or more, then we will get a printed A3 set of all of the Hot Jobs posters sent out to your school or college. Okay. Lastly, I just wanted to point out that there is some information about introducing green jobs that's been added into the advisor zone that you can access. And also we've added on some information into the parent zone as well. So we're just making sure that we're reflecting some of the content around introducing green jobs in different parts of Career Pilot. So it would be really great to get some feedback on how useful you found this recording of the webinar, and just your initial thoughts on which job resources you're likely to be using with your students. So after you finish listening to this recording, please use the link that you will find in the accompanying email and just complete the short survey. And once we've got the results of your survey, we'll then email you with links to all of the resources. So if you could complete the survey first, we will then send you out the links to the resources as a follow-up. Thank you so much for that. And just to flag up that we will have 2 more webinars coming up that will be live webinars. One is going to be aimed at careers advisors around introducing green jobs, and that's on Tuesday the 27th of June at 3:30. And then we have another webinar that we're going to be running on Monday, the 3rd of July, which is specifically for parents and carers of Year 10s. So we wanted to run a session where we can talk about post-16 options generally, and then also introduce some of the information about green jobs. So parents and carers are aware of the opportunities that are out there within our local region. So details of both these webinars will be shared in the email that we send you, along with the links to the resources. Okay, thank you so much for joining me today. I know there's been lots of information to take in, but I hope it's been useful. If you have any questions at all about the session, obviously you've got the feedback form, the survey that we've sent out with you. But if there's anything else, please do contact us using the Career Pilot helpline. And you can see there's a phone number or an email, and this is available and is manned at term time and school hours. Okay, thank you so much, and I hope you found this useful today.